The Creature from the Black Lagoon, directed by Jack Arnold, best known for directing It Came From Outer Space, Tarantula, and The Incredible Shrinking Man, all science fiction classics from the 1950s. I bought the Universal Monsters box set about a year ago, and only now am I actually getting around to opening it. But I thought, what better time than to delve into these horror classics, other than the month of October, season of the witch, the month of Halloween, my favourite month of the year, in fact. So I thought I'd review every film in this box set for you guys, starting with The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Now, I've never seen this film before. I've been aware of it, though. I knew it was a Universal horror classic, and I do recognise The Creature. But I've never actually seen the film up until now. First off, it's presented in black and white. And you know what? There's something about watching black and white films that I feel adds a certain amount of authenticity to a film. Adds a certain amount of realism. Maybe that's just me, but it just feels like everything is real in the film. Who knows? Maybe that's just me, but that's how I feel when I'm watching black and white films. So the plot, for those of you who've never seen the film before like myself, the film starts out with a team that uncover remnants of a mysterious living creature in a remote jungle, the Amazonian jungle to be exact. And so a team of scientists go in, holds an expedition into the depths of the Amazonian jungle, and to find out if this is just an anomaly or actual evidence of an undiscovered creature. And that's when the horror begins. Now, horror. Personally, I wouldn't call this so much a horror. More a action, adventure, thriller maybe. Back in the 50s when this was released, yeah, I can imagine people actually being terrified of this creature and this film and the events that happen in the film. But looking back on this today, I can see where the horror element stems from, but came across to me as more of an action-adventure movie. A very well-made one, in fact. Oh, with a bit of romance thrown in. Did remind me a lot of King Kong, this. One thing that stood out to me straight away was how well written this movie was. I thought the script was very, very well written. Quite smart, in fact. Now, something I tried to take an account of while watching this film, before watching this film, was the era in which it was made. The early 50s. Films released today are very different to the films made in the 40s and the 50s. So I kept that in mind while watching this film and studying it. I thought the script was quite smart and tight, very clever. There was a danger this film could have fallen into the realm of cheesiness, and that could have happened with the script, but it didn't. Not for me anyway. Now, the actual horror element of the film, I can see back in 54 when the film was released, yeah, people would have been scared and horrified by this picture. Now not so much, but that doesn't make this a bad horror movie, because I still find it effective in a different sort of way, and I think it's a very well-made film, and with some beautiful but simple shots. There's not much movement in the camera throughout this film, but some of the shots that the director achieves, I thought were really, really well shot and very, very beautiful. There's some really good performances by the cast and a sort of realistic direction from Jack Arnold that stops this film from falling into your typical your B-movie cheesy horror film. And I found there was a bit more to it. I feel like I must also mention as well, one of the main characters was played by Richard Carlson. Apparently he was in a lot of these 50s science fiction horror B-movies. And he plays a Dr. David Reed in The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And I fancy his performance really, it was a very grounded performance and a very real performance. And he helped achieve this sort of kind of groundedness to the film. Give it some sort of weight and actually add a bit of realism to it. His performance was quite believable for the type of film that he was in, that he was portraying this character, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I think overall, I liked all the performances from the cast, but especially especially Richard Carlson. He stood out for me. The creature design. I actually really found myself liking the design of the creature and how they created it on screen, how it looked on screen. Yes, it's a man in a suit, and you could tell that. But for the times this film was made, I thought they did a great job with what they had. Yeah, there was a man in a suit. It is obviously going to be a man in a suit, but it didn't stand out like, oh, that's a man in a suit. I never once went, oh, that obviously looks like a man in a rubber suit. Mainly because the way in which it was made. There's this one quick shot, a few seconds of the creature approaching the screen. And they have obviously inserted some device into the mask to make the gills move and flap. And that actually blew me away, because it actually added realism to the creature. It looked real, and, this is 1954. And I also think it being in black and white helped even inject more realism. But when watching the documentary and looking at the actual colour of the creature, it was actually quite a nice colour that actually looked like living skin. It actually looked like it could be part of a creature. And something that didn't look out of place, and like a lot of the posters made it look like. It had a very living, breathing quality about it. But they were like the shot, they were the pictures behind the scenes of the film. Obviously in the film, it was presented in black and white, so you didn't actually see the true colour of the creature. But yeah, that one shot of a creature approaching the screen, and you could see its gills moving, it was very simple, but it looked so, real. And I actually think that in that one shot, this creature looked more real than a lot of the, creatures that you have in these horror films today, but are full of CGI. This did look a lot more real than a CGI character. And this creature on screen, as a result, it did have this very living, breathing quality about it. Now, I must mention this one scene. It involves the character Kay Lawrence, who's played by Julie Adams. Very well, I may add. It's a scene where Kay is swimming, and the creature is watching her from beneath, and then follows her by swimming underneath her. And it's almost in sync. It was almost like a swim dance, you could say. I found this scene incredibly beautiful. And in the way it was shot to what I think the message was, this creature obviously falls in love with this woman. And to me, this scene came across as rather romantic. But it also reminded me of King Kong a little. But there was an obvious sign of there being a mix of other films that the creature from the Black Lagoon was inspired by. The 1925 The Lost World, for one. But yeah, going back to that scene underwater with the creature, almost swim dance, I'm going to call it. But swimming in sync underneath this woman, I thought it was, it was a beautiful shot. And again, blew me away. And I didn't expect to see such visuals, in these films. I don't know why, but I kind of went in expecting your average B-movie 50s horror film, and I was very, very surprised by this. That shot, along with a lot of others, I really liked. So yeah, the creature obviously falls in love with this woman. But to me, on my first viewing, it came across as something a little bit different. Yes, this creature is attracted to this woman, but this creature, from what you're made out to believe, is the last of its kind. And to me, this creature was looking for a way to reproduce. That's how it came across to me. I'm not sure if that was intentional by the director and the writers, but to me, that's how it came across. A creature, the last of its kind, in need of spreading its seed. Maybe the love story is a way of sugarcoating that aspect because of the time, the time this film actually came out. But Splice, a very good film if anyone hasn't seen it. But Splice came to mind while I was watching this. If you have seen Splice, then you might know what I'm waffling on about. But yeah, that's the first film that kind of just shot to my mind while I was watching The Creature from the Black Lagoon. I also feel I need to mention the opening shot, which basically shows you the birth of the galaxy. And I felt this was done in such an elegant way, but very, simple way. Keep in mind, there was no such thing as CGI back in the 1950s, and I found this opening shot looked better and was more effective than most recent Hollywood CGI-filled movies. I found this a very enjoyable movie. Something that actually really immersed me and not threw me out because of some guy in a suit. This was a very well directed movie with some really good performances from the cast. I also loved the sound design of the creatures. The creatures' growls and screams. The underwater scenes I thought was very well shot and choreographed. This was a very well shot movie, and there's this one scene, for example, which focuses on one of the characters swimming deep into the lagoon, and the picture is eventually filled with the bubbles coming from the character that's swimming down into the lagoon. And just, a very simple shot, but I just liked the way they did it, as the screen is blanked out by all these bubbles. I mean, it's a couple of seconds, but little moments like that in this film, it meant a lot to me, and I thought, it was a very well shot film, and I liked it. Not so much a horror film, but more of an action-adventure thriller. I really liked The Creature from the Black Lagoon. I felt it had some deep-seated messages in the movie. There were messages such as, invading someone else's environment, and polluting the environment. There's a scene with the main actress where she throws a cigarette into the lagoon, and the camera follows that, and then you've got the shot of the creature underneath the lagoon looking up at the woman, the actress on the board, with obviously the cigarette have landed, and it's kind of like that cigarette sort of connects those two people, those two sort of shots, and I thought that was quite powerful as well. And to me, it was kind of a message really of, invading someone else's environment and destroying or polluting that environment. To me, it was quite a powerful scene, and I just don't think, like a lot of the other sort of scenes in this film, which to me come across as slightly different to what other people may take it as, I don't think it was intended at the time, but maybe that's just me. I mean, perhaps maybe you, people who are watching me now, who watch my channel, who have also seen this film, you've got the same opinions, different opinions. Let me know below in the comments below. If you have not seen The Creature from the Black Lagoon, I highly recommend you do. It truly is a classic, and it really did surprise me. This is a movie that could have easily fallen into the realm of cheesiness, and it didn't. Down to the very smart direction and script and performances from the cast. I'll be giving The Monster from the Black Lagoon an A-. Thanks again for watching, means so much. If you've seen have you seen The Creature from the Black Lagoon? What are your opinions? You agree with mine, or did you hate the film? Please let me know in the comments below, and if you like what you see, please hit subscribe and follow me on my journey. My next review in my Halloween specials will be Phantom of the Opera. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be seeing you guys soon.